All right, everybody, welcome to the webinar. We are about 5 minutes away, and we're going to get started today on how to launch your mastermind group in 30 days. So we're going to be getting started in just about 5 minutes. You're in the right place. If you're here, use the chat box right now. Give me your first name and where you're from. All right, everybody, welcome to the webinar. This is Jonathan, and you're in the right place if you're here for how to start your mastermind group in 30 days. And we're going to get started here in just a few minutes. I see several people coming into the room, and I would like for you to just take a moment, use the chat box on the right side, and let me know your first name and where you're watching from today. So do that real quick, just your first name, where you're from, and we'll get started here in just about one more minute. Say hello to Chris and Mary Jane, Agatha. Hey there to David and Bob and Elizabeth, Jean, Matt. Hey Rose, hey Ryan. Hello there, Steve and Susan, and just more and more people coming in. So this is going to be an awesome time that we're going to have today. I love talking about this topic, and it's something I've never done in a webinar before. So this is a brand new topic, a brand new discussion, and I'm going to be sharing with you some of the results that I have experienced being part of mastermind groups, and a little bit of the uniqueness of the way that we do a mastermind group. And whether you're in a mastermind group right now or you're considering launching one, I think there's going to be something great for you in today's presentation as well. Also, I've got some free giveaways and some resources that everybody today can walk away with. So that's going to be fun and exciting as well. So welcome to the afternoon session. We actually are holding an evening session as well. So I'm going to do this same webinar presentation twice today. And so you guys are a part of this afternoon session. Well, it's afternoon for me, depending on where you're at. And it looks like we have people from all over. Agatha, hey, she's from London. Chris says that he's from Minnesota, but he's viewing from Scotland. So I'm sure there's an interesting story behind that. I'm sure Scotland is pretty and awesome this time of year. Rose from Detroit and Jean from Southern California. Steve from DC. Matt from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Elizabeth from Virginia. And Bob from North Point, Florida, or Northport, Florida. And the list just continues to go on and on. So I'm real excited to have you guys here today. I'm actually in Florida today, and let me show you my camera. So it's great to be here with you guys. It's a beautiful day here in Florida, and we've actually, the last couple days, it's been in the 70s for us, which some of you might think that's warm depending on where you're from, but that's a little chilly for us for October. And I know that sounds kind of funny to say chilly in 70s, but my wife, whenever it gets down into the 60s, she says that's when the jackets come out for her. But I grew up in the Midwest. I was used to playing football and Thanksgiving, 40-degree weather, outside, in shorts. So I guess I'm becoming a little bit of a weenie by moving and living here in Florida for so long. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful weather. I hope you're having a beautiful fall. And my goal today is to make this a power-packed hour. And then I'm going to open myself up for questions. You can ask me anything you want related to mastermind groups, and I'll be happy to share that with you and try and answer any and every question that you might have. So welcome to today, and as I go through this presentation, I'm going to cover some of my best tips about mastermind groups, not only how to start, how to manage and lead them, or make them a great resource for yourself. But also, I want you to take a moment as I'm going through this presentation to ask your questions. So I can circle back around. There's several different ways you can ask it. If you're watching this presentation over on Google+, there's a Q&A box that you can click right on top of the video that you can ask your questions there. Or if you're in the webinar room, right on the right-hand side, I think it's over here. On the right-hand side, I have to point left, even though I'm pointing right for you. On the right-hand side, hopefully I'm pointing in the right direction. There's a place for you to ask your questions. And again, I'll do my best to answer any and every question as much as we have time available. So for some of you, this may be the first time you're actually coming on here and you're learning about me or who is this guy. Maybe you signed up. Maybe you're not familiar with my blogs and where I am. Basically, here's where you can find me online. I started blogging back in 2009, and you can find my original blog at jonathanmilligan.com, where I started talking about careers and career advice and doing career coaching and interviewing, or how to get a job, things like that. And over the course of a couple years, built up 12 income buckets, which allowed me to move from my day job to my dream job, which is blogging and having a portable lifestyle business. And then in 2011, I started bloggingyourpassion.com because I wanted to teach others what I had done through blogging to help them, regardless of your passion, to help you get your message out there to more people and maybe move from your day job to your dream job. Also have two podcasts, Blogging Your Passion podcast and the Simple Life Habits podcast. And then those are the few places where I've been featured in. Earlier this year, I got to be on Entrepreneur on Fire, which is a popular podcast if you're a podcast listener. I've also had guest posts on Michael Hyatt, Blog World, Business Week, Social Media Examiner, Starve the Doubts, and so on and so forth. So that is a little bit about me. Now, before I get into this presentation for too long, I want to make sure you knew about what's going to happen at the end. I'm actually going to do a free giveaway. This is the course I launched last week on how to launch a mastermind group. It's a complete mastermind group launch plan. It's got over 35 videos, tutorials, all the way through starting it to managing it to getting the most out of your mastermind group. So what I want you to do in order to enter into this free giveaway, I'm going to pick somebody here who's live today to get free access to this course. What I want you to do is actually jump onto Facebook. You can go to facebook.com/ and then go to my Facebook page, which is Jonathan, the letter P, Milligan. So facebook.com/ Jonathan, the letter P, Milligan. And there is a post right there about this webinar. All you have to do is either share it or comment below. Maybe comment about how excited you are to be here to learn about mastermind groups, or you can ask a question there, and I'll look at the questions here in just a little bit. By sharing and commenting, you get yourself 2 entries. But go over there right now. Somebody today in just a little bit is going to get free access. It's a $97 value to an entire course about mastermind groups. And just so that you know what I'm talking about, let me do a screen share so I can show you. All right, so here's the screen share. Here's the fan page. And right here, this post. Share it, comment on it, and you will get entered into a drawing to win the free access to my brand new course that I've spent a couple months creating and building. So perfect. So again, just go to facebook.com/Jonathan P. Milligan. So mastermind groups, I'm going to share with you 4 main principles to help you understand the power of mastermind groups and how to launch your own. But before I do, one quick story so that you understand the context of where I'm coming from. Early in 2013, I had figured out how to earn an income, an online business, earn an income through blogging. And in the process of doing so, I was working from home a lot. In fact, so much so that at times I'm like, I got to get out of this house. So I would go to Panera and do some writing on certain mornings, and I still do that. But I was feeling isolated, disconnected, confused, unsure, a little bit unsure of the new products that I was going to release, or just wanted some feedback. I wanted some accountability. Those of you maybe on the call right now, you have you've worked for yourself. Maybe you're self-employed right now, and you understand that sometimes you have to switch that mental switch from being an employee to actually being a boss and a worker, playing both roles. Sometimes it's not always easy. And so I quickly felt isolated, and I knew I had to do something. So in 2013, I chose a word for the year. And my single word for the year was connection. I wanted to be better connected with people. And what got me to where I wasn't going to get me to the next level. I needed to invest and network and build relationships with other people. Not only because I wanted to get to the next level, but because I wanted to make more of an impact. I wanted to invest myself into a small group of people and help them. See, one of the greatest joys in life is your ability to help others. And if you're joyless right now, it may be because life is all about you. And when good things happen, you feel good. When bad things happen, you feel bad. Or when things don't go your way, you feel bad. And so I said, I've got to solve this issue, this problem. And so literally within 2 months, I launched out, and I'll be talking a little bit about the exact steps I took, but I launched out and started a mastermind group, and the results for me have been unbelievable. Last year, my revenue doubled, and we're just talking revenue right now. This year, in the first 6 months, I matched the revenue from all of last year. I've been able to launch new courses, a membership site, working on some new books, working on there's just so many things that I'm doing, but not just the results that I experience. The people in my group, I've seen people who weren't making $1 online release courses where they were making thousands of dollars. I've seen one individual launch his speaking career. I've seen another individual, he had a desire to start and host a one-day conference, and it was a phenomenal success, something he's probably going to repeat over and over again in the future. And those are just a few of the results. I could go on and on and on. But I want you to know that my mastermind group, surrounding yourself with other passionate people, can be incredibly helpful to getting you to the next level. Because what you need to learn may not be in a book or just a friend telling you got to do this or that, but it might be surrounding yourself with other people that are heading the same direction. Because here was the reality for me. I go to a large church. The church I go to can run up to a couple thousand people on weekend services. And I didn't know one other person, and I still don't. I don't know one other person who's trying to do what I am trying to do. And that is build an online platform business. And so locally, I just felt completely disconnected. And so in order for me to find the expertise, we have the awesomeness of the internet. And so every Thursday, I meet with a group. Our group is up to 8 or 10 people now. And my group meets every Thursday at 4 o'clock. And I walk away every single time with ideas, light bulb moments, support, help, advice, all those things. And so here was the quote that drove me to jump into mastermind groups. I read this from C.S. Lewis, who actually was a part of his own mastermind group called The Inklings. If you know C.S. Lewis, he's the creator and writer of Chronicles of Narnia. And this is what he said: the next best thing to being wise oneself is to live in a circle of those who are. The next best thing to being wise oneself is to live in a circle of those who are. What's that mean? That means that being wise is great, but you also need to be surrounding yourself around other passionate people. So I'm going to walk through quickly 4 steps. Now, I've labeled this how to launch your mastermind group in 30 days. So I'm going to label it by saying, if there is something that you should do week 1, here's what you need to do. Week 1 is all about the word learn. There are things you need to learn before you just jump into a mastermind group. Because what most people do is they say, oh, I like the idea of a mastermind group. So they get a neighbor, they get somebody else, they get a cousin, they put it out there on Facebook, and they get 5 or 6 people together. Everyone's got a different idea of what they want from a mastermind group, or some of them are just there because they were invited. And I've seen these groups happen over and over again. I've gotten the emails from people that say, I'm stuck in this group. This is not what I wanted. And it's because they didn't take time up front to learn a few things that they needed to learn. And so you say, well, what is it I need to learn? Well, I can't cover everything, but let me cover what I believe are some of the critical areas. First of all, I want to talk to you about the one single factor that determines success. If you got nothing else out of today's talk and workshop webinar, get this one thing. There is one single factor that will determine success or failure for your group. And that one single factor is this: generosity. Your group needs to have, from the very beginning, at the outset, it's talked about, discussed, it's held in high regard, that you're going to create a currency of generosity inside of your group. Because here's what will happen. What will happen is when people want to join a mastermind group, they're going into it for what they will get out of it. And if you have 6 people all coming to a meeting or a hangout, and they're all expecting to get something out of it before they are willing to give anything, or they just come with the wrong intentions, it'll destroy the group, it'll fizzle out, people won't see it as important, and they won't show up. There's a great book called by Jeff Walker, and toward the back, he actually has a chapter about where he talks about mastermind groups. The chapter's on creating a business you love. Let me just read a quote from this book that really hits home this idea. This is what he says: a great mastermind has great people who are givers. These are people who focus on creating value for others before they look to take value. This is the very essence of a mastermind. Everyone is there to focus on helping their fellow members, and they know their rewards will naturally come as part of the process. You see, I've seen this played out with my own group members, where they have come in and they've invested, gave, shared their network, shared their email list, shared their followers on Twitter, Facebook, and they've promoted other people in the group without expecting anything in return. And I've sat back and watched how they've still benefited from jumping in and giving. You see, instead of a scarcity mentality, they've come from a very abundant place. And when you, from the very outset, push forward this idea of generosity. Amazing things can happen when you have a group of people that are focused on meeting the needs of everyone else in the group. So I know I see a bunch of questions coming in, and I thank you for the questions, and just we'll definitely get to as many of these as we can. So if you're coming in, I see there's many more people in the room right now, then feel free to ask your questions. You can ask them, of course, over on Google Plus as well on the Q&A box. But I just want to hit one more point before I leave this first thought about learning. There's also what I call, the 5 questions you must answer. So I'm not going to be able to dive into each of these, but maybe if you got a pen or paper, you can write these. Here's the questions. Question 1, where am I headed? It's so important that you take a moment and assess where you're headed. You need to know what it is that you want to do. Because if you don't surround yourself with other like-minded people, your group is fragmented. It's going in many different directions. There needs to be a consensus purpose for the group. Now, everyone in your group doesn't have to be the same. Like, not everybody in the group has to be a personal finance blogger in order for the group to be successful. But the group does need to be cohesive in that they want to build an online platform. See, what you don't want is, somebody's purpose in the group is to sell franchises. Another person wants to start a fitness, personal fitness training. Another person wants to blog online and build an online business, because then you get on topics that everyone else isn't interested in. So you want to be careful about understanding, where am I headed so that I can have the right group members. Question 2, where do I need to grow? So what specific areas do you need to grow in? Do you want to publish a book? Do you want to launch a speaking career? Do you want to start a business? Where do you need to grow? Question 3, what exactly is a growth friend? Now, more than anything, you want to be able to identify growth friends. A growth friend is somebody who challenges you, somebody who you walk away encouraged and inspired from, someone who knows someone who's been successful than you in certain areas. Question 4, should my group be local or virtual? There's benefits to both. Local is probably the preferred, because you can really build relationships when you're there in person. But depending on the purpose of your group, you may need to go virtual. Mine's virtual, and the benefit has been that we've been able to add people with certain expertise into our group, even though they didn't live in the city where I'm living. And then here's question 5. How many people should be in my group? You need to think through that. Do you want 3? Do you want to start off with just 5? Do you want 15, 10, 12? So you got to think through those questions. So those are some of the questions that you need to learn. So let's move on to week 2. Week 2 is the word listen. Now this is where you have to get behind the words that people are saying to really understand whether someone is right for your group or not. And I'm going to share with you a little bit of a process that I took, and maybe that'll help you in forming your own group. And I actually come from, I was talking about being a career coach. Before I did that, I was actually an executive recruiter. So I spent a lot of time interviewing people. And when you've done that for 6-7 years, you can get pretty good at understanding people's personalities, their intentions, their body language, just through having a short conversation with them. And so I took some of the things that I learned in being an executive recruiter and interviewing people and applied that into me allowing people to jump into my mastermind group. So this is what I want to talk about for just a few minutes. the mastermind group interviewing process. I'm going to share with you my process, the process that I took that has allowed my group to be successful, and we're still together going on almost 2 years later, which is a pretty phenomenal feat. So here's the process. And maybe you want to jot a couple of these notes down. First is where are your potential members already hanging out? Maybe you need to write that down. Where are my potential members hanging out? I considered a lot of different places, different forums, different places online. I want to do a virtual group, so that's why I didn't go to a local networking event or anything like that. And basically, I decided to focus in on a particular paid platform, that forum that I was going to go to. And that was actually, for me, it was Platform University. Michael Hyatt, many of you might know him about his book Platform. And I figured if I'm in that space of trying to grow my online platform and continuing to grow my business, then that's where I need to go, because those people have the same desires and passions. Another great group is Dan Miller's group, 48days.net. And over there, you got thousands of people who are in there passionate about wanting to pursue their own work, their own lifestyle, their own business. It's another great group. And that's actually where my second blog, bloggingyourpassion.com, started over inside of 48days.net. I started a group over there called Blogging Your Passion. And one thing led to another, and it became a second business for me. So that's question one, is where's your group hanging out? And then what I did is I created a Google Doc survey, and I asked some basic questions. Tell me about your blog. Tell me about your business. What are you wanting to get out of a mastermind group? And the questions go on. But I did that Google Doc survey because I didn't want to just say, hey, email me if you want to be a part of this group. I wanted to be able to do at least one level of, and I got a great response. I probably got 30 responses. I was able to distill that down to probably about 8 people. And then I took it the next step. Actually, take that back. I think I was up to 12 people. I wasn't going to let everyone in, but I wanted to start a list and keep distilling it down. So then the next step I took is I asked each of them if we could connect on Skype, Hangout, or a phone call, just for 20 or 30 minutes. Now, I didn't do this in a super interrogation interview style. I just connected with them. I just wanted to get on the phone or get on a Hangout, learn a little bit more about them. Hey, tell me about what you're doing. Tell me about what you've done. Where are you going? What would you like to get out of a mastermind group? Here's my idea for a mastermind group, and let me get back with you, sort of thing. And doing that helped me to really hone in on the people who had the experience, passion, and generosity for the group I was going to have. And I was able to construct the group. And inside the group, I have someone who's been a successful book publisher. He's had 20 years of publishing books. He brings his expertise to our group. I have someone, actually 2 people, who travel the country and speak keynotes, workshops, and they're able to lend their expertise in that manner. Another person in our group is phenomenal at marketing online, and he has been a great member to our group. Another one has been a successful entrepreneur and blogger, and I could go on and on. But I was able to put a group together that not only became a benefit for me, but became a benefit for everybody else in the group, because everyone got to tap into that expertise. And so then that's how I got to my group. So as a recap, where's your group hanging out? I did a survey to get some responses so that I could handpick those that I wanted to have a personal conversation with. Gave, a 30-minute conversation, and then I selected, I think we started with 6 or 8 people, and then that moves us to the next step. So we've learned a few things. We've listened closely to what people are saying to pick the right members. And then it's time to launch. And this is the fun part. This is so much fun. This is where most people start. Most people start right here with launching, and they just get a bunch of people together, and then they get frustrated when people don't show up and important. So I wrestled with what is the big thing, the big rock that I wanted to share with you about this, because I could talk about how we do our online collaboration with connecting with each other in between our meetings. I could talk about the structure of our meetings. And if you want to know some of that, we can answer them during the question time. But for this particular point, what I want to talk about, since we are talking about getting a group off the ground, is what I believe is the absolute essential thing that you need to do for your first meeting. How you conduct your first meeting is really going to help to lay the foundation for, is this worth my time or is it not worth my time? You see, when you can get to the place in your mastermind group, when it becomes the most valuable thing in their week, they're going to hate to miss it. Like, members of our group hate to miss it. In fact, we record all of our meetings on MP3 because group members want to listen to it. And sometimes the group members want to re-listen to it. And they were even there live for the meeting. And so what you need to do is make those group meetings sticky. You want to make them so sticky that they feel like they're missing out. If I'm not there, I'm going to miss out on an idea. I'm going to miss out on the relationship. I'm going to miss out on the opportunity. But what happens is when you get to that first meeting, you need to be able to have everyone understand the context of where they're coming from. Because if we just jump in and start talking about business and no one has context, it becomes muddied. We're not having a chance to build real relationships. Now get this, it's very important. In order to create that generosity factor that I was talking about, you have to humanize your mastermind group meetings. And by that, I mean, if you don't cut up, laugh, joke, have a good time, ask questions about other people in the group as far as their family members, get to know, how many kids they have, learn about them, what they like to do. Those things are so important because it helps bond the relationships. When I was about 4 months into this mastermind process, one of my group members told me, he said this, he said, if you had a tragedy today, he goes, I would hop on a plane and I would be there today, if not tomorrow, because I want to be there for you. That's when I knew that our group had something special, because this group had bonded. And it wasn't because of just me. And I'm not here saying that I am the end all be all with mastermind groups. I've had to learn and stumble along the way, but I have been able to witness the generosity and the insight and the leadership of other people in my group. So here's what you do on that first meeting. On that very first meeting, first thing right off the bat, establish your purpose. What is the purpose of the group? If you don't establish the purpose, then you're going to be left wondering. Group members are going to be left wondering. People are going to become frustrated, and they're not going to know what it is that you're trying to accomplish with your meeting. Now, I'm actually going to let you see this at the end. I'm going to give everybody on the call at the very end, I'm going to give you a link that is actually my mastermind group guidelines. This is our real guidelines that you're going to be able to see, print off, use, that they had opportunity to influence. So here is the purpose of our group: to grow our platform and business through collaboration, accountability, honest feedback, and shared resources. That's the purpose of our group. You see how much generosity is in that? Collaboration, accountability, honest feedback, shared resources. And our purpose is to grow our platform and our business. That is our purpose. So we establish that right up front. And if it's fuzzy and you're not sure, use the first 10 minutes of that first meeting to establish your purpose. Now, if you're in a mastermind group right now and you say, man, I haven't, very next meeting say, guys, I want to establish a purpose so that we know what the bullseye is for our group so that we can hit it. Then, depending on how many members you have, hopefully you can get all this in the first meeting. But let's say you start off with 4 members or 5 members. Divide up the remaining time and allow everybody to share the context of their background. So I basically say, give me the rundown of the past, present, and future. And as a leader, I suggest you start so that people understand what it is you're trying to get. You don't have to necessarily start or raised or anything like that. You can easily start with when I graduated college or when I started working in the workforce. This is what I've been doing. This is what I'm doing right now. And here's where I'm trying to go. And it helps everybody in the group get a context of what, where people have been, what they're doing right now, and ultimately where they want to go. So that's how you conduct that very first meeting. So hopefully you're getting some value out of some of this. If you are, I'd love to hear it in the chat. Just say, I'm getting value, or yes, I've already picked up on a tip that, or maybe say, yes, I've learned something new today. If you just say that in the chat, provide some feedback for me so that I know that everyone is still locked in here and fully present as we're going through this. About, a couple more points, and then we're going to do that giveaway. For somebody who's going to get access to my latest course, and then everybody that's here today is going to get a link to my mastermind group guidelines. You can have the complete guidelines, and just to let you know a little bit about what's in those guidelines, we cover purpose of our group, the role of a mastermind member, the weekly meeting, how the hot seat assignment works, our attendance expectations, the fact that we want to meet live once a year since we're a virtual group, and our group etiquette and dismissal guidelines. So this is a one-page PDF that is pretty powerful if you're either running a group or you're thinking of running a group. You don't have to use the same thing we're using. This was influenced by all the members of my mastermind group. We worked on this together, but it's what governs us and keeps us bonded and keeps us in check. So, all right, Luann says, glad to hear about virtual groups. Yeah, and we can talk more about that, Luann, and I can tell you some more details of how we do that. But just to give you some insight, I'm in Florida. I have a group member in South Carolina, a group member in Alabama, a group member in Dallas, Texas, a group member in the Netherlands. I have a group member in Colorado. I've got one in California, and I'm sure I'm missing someone. Oh, Michigan. So as you can see, I mean, when we jump on, we're literally all over the place. I mean, the guy in our group from the Netherlands, it's like 9 o'clock at night when he's jumping on our 4 o'clock call. And in fact, I'm going to be jumping on that call at 4 o'clock today. Right now it's 2:40. I'm going to be jumping on that call at 4 o'clock because I don't want to miss it. I would never want to miss my mastermind group. So Michelle says, I like that you interview members. Mary Jane says, loving it. Stacy says, I'm learning a lot. Jonathan says, good stuff. Matt says, great overview. I have a foundation now. Nwango says, this is great value, Jonathan. So awesome. Glad you guys are still locked in and with me. Just a couple more points for you, and I think these are really going to help you. So once you launch your group, your job as a group leader is not over. And you have to be able to lead your group well. And leading your group well is so important that you stay in tune. You don't want it to get dull or boring. You don't want your group to get stuck in a rut. You got to keep it fresh, alive, all of those things. And so the last point to our process here is that we're going to talk about the word lead. So we have learn. What are the things that you need to learn? Some of you come today and you've already learned some things. Listen. How do we carefully interview our potential members so we can listen and get the right people? Launch. How do we get our group started and started right off the bat in the correct way we want them to go? And then lead. And that's what we're going to be talking about here. And so what I want to share with you are actually 4 ways to lead your group well. Remember at the beginning, I talked about the importance of creating a current. Well, you can say it, but people are only going to follow it. You may have some people in there that catch the vision and they become generous from the very beginning. But there's 4 areas that I want to talk to you about. The first one, in order to lead your group well, is in fact to lead with generosity. Now, what does that mean? That means you decide, and I have one of my good buddies, his name's Dennis McEntee. He's in my mastermind group. You can find him over at least.com. And he goes into cultures, team cultures, in businesses, and he works with the leaders in helping to create drama-free teams. And he does a phenomenal job. He's got a new book he's writing called People Smart. And one of the things he talks about that has profoundly impacted me in my thinking is, he always says this: Jonathan, just decide to become the biggest giver in every relation. Now, what would happen if 5 people centered on a single purpose decided to be the biggest giver in that relationship? Powerful things can happen. But you know what? It's going to start with you. You've got to lead with that generosity. And so at the very beginning, I would try to do things like share their new blog post to my Twitter followers and to my Facebook fan pages, talk about them, allow them to guest post on my blog, help them any way that I could. Now, that wasn't just what I was doing, but everybody else in the group was doing that as well. And some of them have been great examples for me on how to be the biggest giver in every relationship. But you need to first lead with that generosity. Don't come in and say, well, how can other people start helping me promote my stuff? Go ahead and start promoting them. Talk about them. Talk about them with your audience. Talk about them in your business. Talk about them with your networks. The other relationships you have, introduce them to other people. Become a connector of people with them. Number 2, lead with accountability. Now, by that, I mean you need to ask for accountability first. Because here's what happens. When we ask for accountability, we become vulnerable. When we become vulnerable, that's when things begin to happen for us. You see, there was a time, I think it was probably several months ago, I came off of a 2-week vacation, and the first couple of days, I just was not with it. I was not accomplishing things. I was a little frustrated. I was, when you work for yourself and you're not motivated and you feel like you're in a 3-day rut and you just can't get going, that's a very frustrating place to be in. And so I went to my group. Now we use the Slack app, but at the time we were using a private community, which both of them are great. And I just told my group, listen, I have fallen off the wagon and I need your help in getting back on my feet. So here's what I'm going to do. Every morning, I'm going to come into the group and I'm going to tell you, these are the things I'm going to get done today. And if you haven't heard from me by the end of the day, you have permission to ask me how things went. But I'm going to come back in here at the end of the workday and let you know what I got done and what I did not get done. And I started doing that for several days in a row. And I went from being completely unproductive to fired up productive. In fact, other members in the group said, I want to do the same. And all of us began to post our to-do list for the day and then come back and let people know what we accomplished. And then if we didn't, why, so that other group members can help each other work through some of that procrastination or not using your time well sort of thing. And still to this day, we have a thread called accountability, and I, along with our group members, use it. but you got to lead with accountability. Number 3, another way you can lead is lead with feedback. Now, by that, I mean group members are great for giving honest feedback. If you're designing a new logo for your business, a new header for your blog, a new cover for a Kindle book that you want to publish, get feedback from the other members, but also make sure that you're giving feedback as well. And then number 4, lead with promotions. See, from the very beginning, you want to condition your members to see the importance of promoting all the other members of the group. Now, my group, we've promoted things like guest posts, podcasts, media interviews, new Kindle books, new courses, webinars. We freely share that for everybody else, because here's the power of a mastermind. The power of a mastermind is that all of us together are better than any one of us apart. Let me say that again. All of us are better than any one of us apart. Now, my specific example is talking about building an online business. And maybe one of us has a decent size email list, but all of us together have an unbelievable reach in our email list. Same thing with Twitter followers or Facebook fans. And so when you get in this idea of leading with promotions, be willing to promote the other people in your group. It can be a powerful thing. So just a couple more slides, and then I am going to give away the free access to my brand new course on membership sites. But before I do, I'm going to be answering some questions as well. Get in there, give me some questions in the chat box or on Google+, because I want to answer your questions. But before I do, I want to share with you a few things. First, I've just recently, and again, somebody's going to get this for free in just a little bit, free access. I've been working on this for a couple of months, but I had somebody in my group. He is actually a PhD, he's a professor of graduate studies at a large university. And he told me, he said, John, he goes, I've been teaching mastermind groups in my graduate level entrepreneurship courses, and I've seen kind of minimal success. But what you are doing with mastermind groups is something that I want to immediately implement in my graduate studies with my with the kids in the entrepreneurship program. Now that blew me away. I was honored by that. And the last thing he said is, you've got to document all this so that other people can follow the model that we've created, so that other people can experience the success of a group like we have. And so I said, all right, I'm going to do it. And so for the last couple months, I've been putting together a course called Circle of Wisdom. Remember the C.S. Lewis quote that you need to, being wise oneself. This is the next best thing to surrounding yourself with a circle of wisdom. And so this is a full mastermind group launch plan. If you got some value out of today, this is only just pieces of it. It follows the 4 steps that I just went into, but in much more depth. Each module has over 7 or 8 full-length videos. It walks through this process step by step. I put my checklist. I've got group meeting agenda, got PDFs in there. I show you the exact forum post that I put together so you can copy it and use it yourself. I give you a link to my online survey, or my survey for potential group members. I have an interview checklist that you can go through, and all that plus much, much more. And on top of that, I decided to put together some bonuses. One is a keynote talk that I did in Dallas, Texas on the power of mastermind groups. So the whole keynote video is there for you to watch. And I've also created some additional tutorial videos. One of them is on Slack. And it's a very cool app if you haven't seen it yet, but that has taken our collaboration to a whole new level. We're sharing more, we're giving more, we're offering more advice, we're sharing more resources than ever before. And then also, I do a whole bonus training on Google Hangouts and starting a Google Plus private community, which is where our group was for over a year. So all of that is, I came out of the gate selling that, and I've had just overwhelming response so far on the course, and I'm so excited to release this course. It's unlike anything else I've done, so I'm super excited about it. And I think I'm so excited about it because I've personally experienced the power of mastermind groups for the last 20 months, and now I get to hand over the keys to other people to go repeat and do the exact same thing. So I know it's going to make a difference in your business, or the goals that you have. So here's what I put together, and this is just for the webinar. The first 20 members can get instant access for only $67. So literally it's $30 off, and I'm not offering that kind of discount anywhere else. So in order to get this discount, it's only good for 20 members. I set the coupon code to allow for 20 people to get at this price. There's a lot of people on this call right now. And so this is available only for the first 20 people. Go over to jonathanmilligan.com/mastermind, or I'm actually going to put that up on the right sidebar. You should see it show up, and pretty soon here, and you're able to click on that link. It won't pull you out of this session, but it'll allow you to go over there. And again, you have to use the webinar, or you have to use the coupon code webinar, just that word all by itself, and it will reduce the price $30 off, and you can get access to this course, the entire 35 videos plus the bonus material plus the checklist and the PDFs and everything. I've had my group members, I let them in a couple weeks ago to say, what else is missing? Tell me what's missing. What is it that we're doing not in here? Let me know what that is so I can add it and put it in there. And they've made sure that I've left nothing out about mastermind groups. So that is the offer. And I hope that you get a chance to be one of those first 20 members to do so. So we got a quick giveaway to do, and then I'm going to give everybody access to a link to download my mastermind group guideline PDF, and then we're going to take some questions here. So let me jump over. Jump over here. And grab some of these names. I'm going to throw them in a randomizer here. Give me 1 second so I can randomly select a person. And the winner is, at the very top, is Susan Cooper. So Susan, congratulations. You get access to this course, and you'll be able to just send me an email. You can send me an email at Jonathan, or the word, sorry, let me start over, Jonathan@jonathanmilligan.com. And Susan, I will set you up with free access. And already big thank you. I see some orders coming in of people who are jumping in. Now, let me just say this about the course. This is very interactive. If you've ever been a part of any of my courses, there's a comment box below each video. So if you have a question, or you get stuck, or you're not sure how to apply it in your situation, every single day I'm logging in to see what comments are coming. So this is not just, like reading a book about mastermind groups. This is super interactive. I'm going to be there to answer your questions, to help you, to make sure that you get your mastermind group launched. So I'm there every single step of the way. So again, thank you to those who have already jumped and taken advantage of this offer. Again, there's only 20 that I'm able to take at that price, and that's the lowest price that you'll be able to get for it. Make sure that when you are at the order page that you use the word webinar, so that it'll take $30 off your price. All right, so let me take a few questions, and then I'm going to give you guys access to that PDF that you can use for your own mastermind group guidelines. So let me jump over and let's start taking a few questions, and I'm here to try to answer as many questions as I can. So let me just catch up here. All right, Ryan says, I feel like that I have the same issue, Jonathan. People at my church give me the blank stare when I talk about building a platform. You're exactly right, Ryan. I don't know how many times I've had people say, at church, there's people that I know as acquaintances, and they'll say, so what do you do? And I usually have to start with saying, do you know what a blog is? And if they say no, I know it's going to be an interesting conversation from there. So I know how you feel, Ryan. I feel and have felt the same way. Dave says, Jonathan, you're knocking out of the park. Thanks, Dave. People say, I'm learning a lot. Good stuff. Great overview. I have a foundation now to start. Chris said, awesome. Accountability is certainly a huge key to making the group work with integrity. Absolutely. Bob says, great idea on finding potential members. I'm a member of both groups, Platform University in 48 days and your group. Yeah, I think it's, it's that same idea of, I wanted to go someplace where I felt like people had the same values that I had. That doesn't mean that they all have to look like me and think like me. But I wanted to have people who had the same values that were trying to head in a somewhat similar direction. Neil said, would love to see the list. Great value so far. Bob says, are you in more than one mastermind group? Bob, I am not. I do know of people that do that, but I find that, I get enough value and benefit from just mine that it works great for me. Chris said, learn, listen, launch, lead. I love the alliteration. Hey, you're welcome. Just trying to keep it simple. Chuck says, any thoughts or tips for a mastermind group of nonprofit fundraising leaders? How would that differ from business leaders who are building their networks? Chuck, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a terrific idea. Mastermind groups don't only work for entrepreneurial business type people. I mean, they can work for all kinds of groups. You could have a mastermind group of realtors who are sharing their marketing tips, their things they're doing in their business. You could have a mastermind group of pastors who are sharing and building in and praying for each other's in their life. You could have a group of fundraising leaders. Absolutely. I think it's just getting clear on, what that ultimate purpose is, what the purpose is for your group. Matt says, is there ever a wrong time to start a mastermind group? That's a good question. I would say, Matt, in most cases, I would say no, except for if you just absolutely cannot have, any margin whatsoever. If you're working 3 jobs and you think you're going to squeeze it in, maybe it's just not the right season of your life for a mastermind group. But I would say 9 times out of 10, there's not a bad time to start one. In fact, I wish I would have started one years before. Allison says, tips for handling members that don't show up. Great question. This is, fortunately, I haven't had to deal with this too much. There was one individual that we were having that happen for a little while. And so what we did was we put together more clear guidelines. And so one of the guidelines, and they actually have a video that talks about this in the course in more depth, but one of the guidelines that we established is that basically the question I asked is, out of a 90-day period, how many times does a minimum number of meetings need to take place for a member? And so actually back up. What I did, Allison, and I actually teach this in the course, is I created a anonymous group member survey. So after you get your group running for a little while, give them this group meeting or this group survey and take what they have and develop your own guidelines. And so what I asked was, how many times does a member need to attend in a 90-day period before they are pretty much considered, they need to leave, get kicked out, not attend anymore? And so the members said 9 out of 12. They should be there 9 out of 12, and we do weekly. Now, we did kind of put a little asterisk to it. If you miss a live call, you can be counted present by listening to the recording and adding an update via the comments. For us, it's Slack app before the next call. So we actually have an attendance group spreadsheet, and on the spreadsheet you have all the group members' names, you have the attendance, and then you have a place for them to put their one high leverage activity they want to be held accountable for from week to week. That's something we do at the end of every call. We go a quick round and say, what's one thing you want the group to hold you accountable for? And then we place it in the spreadsheet. And I actually walk you through the spreadsheet, give you access to the spreadsheet inside the course as well. But what we do is we will mark them present if they listen to the recording and they update us inside of our online group. So that's how we handle that. But that's a great question. John says, how would you uninvite a group member that's hurting the group? Yeah. So basically, we had everyone agree to the group member guidelines, and we have dismissal guidelines in there. And we decided as a group that, reasons for dismissal are lack of participation in meetings, which I just talked about, tearing down other members, sharing discussions outside of the group, lying, and being dishonest. Those were the things that we felt were reasons for people to leave. Now, I've not had to do that kind of dismissal, but we clearly have that out in front of everybody, and we have everybody sign that those dismissal guidelines. So I hope that is helpful. I'm going to take a few more questions, and then I'm going to share that link to the spreadsheet, and then we'll just take a few more from there. Try to answer as many questions as I can. Let's see here. Bob says, do you have different levels of online business experience among your members? We do, Bob, but the one thing for me, now this is for me, okay? I didn't want to start with somebody who has yet to pick a domain name, has not been, has never used WordPress. Because what I didn't want to happen, Bob, is I didn't want somebody to be dragging down the whole group. I wanted the group to have enough synergy where we felt like we were somewhat in the same place. And so everybody that I invited to be a part of it, had already established an online presence. Some were further along than others. Some were, already 100% self-employed, and others have 1 foot in their day job and 1 foot outside of that. But just about everybody has already earned money outside of their day job through their online platform. So for me, that was important. And it's important because, blogging your passion is one of my businesses. I spend a lot of time helping people who are just getting started. And so now, if it's a group of everybody just kind of getting started, maybe there's a few people that are a little bit further along, I think that's okay. But for me, in my particular situation, I was wanting to have people at least somewhat close to one another. Chris said, echoing Bob's question a bit, if you're a member or leader of multiple groups, what are some guidelines to share about maintaining margin? Yeah, that's where it gets a little bit difficult if you're part of more than one group, because you can begin to mix conversations or not sure what was discussed here or over there. And that can be a little bit difficult. I'm not saying that, being a part of 2 groups is bad, but that can be a bit challenging. So Michelle says, do you charge people to join the mastermind? No, I don't. Everybody that's a part of my mastermind group are there free, no cost. I know there are many people out there who do charge for mastermind groups because they want people to have skin in the game, to show up, to do sort of thing like that, to pay their dues. But my mastermind group, I do not. Chris said, another question, what's your top recommendation for virtual group hosting software and web service tool? Yeah, great question. So we've always used Google Hangouts. Google Hangouts has worked well for us for a couple reasons. Sometimes group members are on the go. Sometimes they can join, because Hangouts, you can get on a Hangout via the app on your iPhone or iPad. Some group members go that way. But we also have group members who say, dial me in. They may be waiting for an airplane, or they may be, and they want to be a part of it. Like today, I'm actually going to have to join my mastermind group via the phone because I'm going to be en route to my daughter's junior high volleyball game. So I'm going to be participating in the call en route to getting to her volleyball game. So it works out great because Hangouts is free, and you can dial any mobile phone from inside the Hangout. So we usually end up dialing somebody in. Another great one is Zoom. I know some people that use that. That's a great one for virtual group as well. Now, as far as our online collaboration, I use the Slack app. In fact, let me show you guys an inside view into that real quick. So let me come over here, share that. Okay, so here, let me give you a good example. Here is the Slack app. And we love this because it actually integrates with Google Hangouts. You can actually use /Hangouts, and people can join a Hangout from inside of Slack, which is pretty cool. But this is a free tool. I actually have a whole tutorial video in the bonus section on how we use this. But you can see we have hashtags over here for different things. So here's just one example. This hashtag called feedback is where we can post things that we're working on that we need feedback with. Like I'm working on, I created this in mind map, and then I'm working on a new teaching tool for helping people become a pro blogger. And so I have a contest on 99 designs, and I have had people give me feedback. Let's see. No, that wasn't what I was looking for. Just trying to see if I could show you some of these files. You can upload pictures. You can do all kinds of things. So feedback, we share our book list. We share stuff we're doing with list building, podcasting. Here's our accountability thread that I was talking about earlier, blogging tips, and it just goes on and on. And the other cool thing about Slack app is you can do direct messages. So that way we don't have to email each other. In fact, we never email each other anymore. We just direct message each other, and you can get it on your iPhone, somewhat similar to a text message, and you can communicate with one another. So that's what we're using currently. I've also used a private Google Plus community, and that worked awesome. So, I think that is great as well. All right. I'm going to answer a few more questions. By the way, I want to say thanks to Will for joining us in the Circle of Wisdom and getting part of that discount. And Chuck, welcome. And Tracy and Shauna and Sarah. So welcome, you guys. Again, that coupon is good for the first 20 people. I look forward to chatting with you guys inside of the course and helping you get your mastermind groups up and going. Christopher says, just logged on. Will this be available later? Yes, this will be available tomorrow. I'll send out the link to the replay. I'm also doing this again 9 o'clock tonight live. So it'd be maybe a little bit different, but somewhat similar for that as well. Okay. Mark says, restate the name of the book and the author you quoted in step 1. Sure. In fact, I got the book right here. So let me show it to you. So this is a great book. I've actually known about Jeff Walker for a while, but this book is called Launch, and it's for people who are building an online business, and he walks through different ways to launch products. I've known about him for a while. I've actually used, earlier this year, I used a lot of what he teaches before this book came out, but I used his tips for launching Teach Your Passion, which is one of the best launches that I've done to date on products. So Launch from Jeff Walker, it's a good book. And also he covers how to do a seed launch. And a seed launch is if you have a very small list or not very many people on your email list. A person on my mastermind group had less than 1,000 on his list. And so he used the seed launch that's talked about in this book to launch his course earlier this year with some good success. So Allison said Slack off is the tool you use. No, it's called the Slack app. Just go to slack.com. I know it's a funny name, but you can go to slack.com and it's free. You can download it. Gene says, what are your thoughts on high-end or platinum masterminds? Maybe you could give me some more explanation of what you mean by that. I don't know if that means, that they've paid into that. I know I guess you're asking about those that you can actually pay a few $1,000s to be a part of. I think that depends on where you are in your journey to see if you can really maximize that and benefit from it. Susan said, thanks for the great webinar. It'll help me greatly improve my own group. I'm also so excited about winning too. Congrats, Susan. Chris says, thanks for the backstage view. Alice said the app looks so cool and complete. Yeah, it's even cooler on the iPad and the iPhone. Bob says, thanks for sharing. Thank you for the great information. I'm reading and using Jeff Walker's book, Launch. It's fantastic, said Rose. Awesome. And then make sure I'm not neglecting anybody over on Google Plus. It's like some of you are having conversations over here. It's like some of the same questions over here as well. Chris says the time length minimum maximum for each meeting to be effective. Yeah, great question, Chris. So ours is 60 minutes. And we tell people, listen, we're on at 4 Eastern and we're done at 5. And we hold to that. And very rarely do we go over, but we really try to hold to that because we want to respect everybody's time. And so I think 60 minutes is a good length. And I actually teach inside the course a lot of different ways that you can structure the meeting. I call it cell meeting structure. But you can do things like share highs and lows. What was your high from this week? What was your low? You can do hot seat, where someone gets placed in focus and everybody else is there to help them with grow their business or help them with their launch or help them with whatever they're doing. You can also do a content or a book-based mastermind group where I think about the power of having 4 or 5 people go through this book together and learning things from other people. You can also do content-based ideas. And again, I teach all of this inside the course, but content-based is where you find out topics that every member wants to know about. Like today, we actually have a content-based mastermind group. So we'll share some highs and lows, and then we're going to jump into what everyone voted on was LinkedIn traffic strategies. What's everybody doing? What are people in our group doing to get traffic from LinkedIn so we can learn something from each other? This is real world stuff. This isn't just stuff in a book that seems outdated, but what's working now with LinkedIn. So I'm really excited to be part of that. And then at the end, what we'll do is at the end of a meeting, typically is when we'll do our high leverage activity. We'll say, we'll go around the room, go across the hangout, and each person says, here's the one thing I want to get done before I get on the call next week. Gene says, I'm looking to start some. I guess that means mastermind groups, so awesome. And let me make sure there's no questions coming over. Here, let's see. Michelle says, you read my mind. I'm in the midst of starting a group. Thanks for the webinar. You're welcome. Luann says, are some mastermind groups entirely online? I live in a very rural area. Yeah, my group is virtual. I have people in my mastermind group that live in very rural areas. And so a virtual group is great for you. All kinds of conversations. Joining the webinar, thanks. This is my first webinar. I'm very excited to learn how to start a mastermind group. Awesome, Lizzie. Donna says, looking forward to this. Awesome. Great. All right, perfect. Well, I don't want to belabor it, so I've actually probably waited too long. I apologize about that. I just kind of forgot. But let me give you guys that link, and then I'll see if you have any other questions. So in the chat, you're going to be getting this link. I'll post it over on Google Plus question and answer as well. And that link I posted is a direct link to my mastermind group guide. You can print off, use them for your group. And let me put it over here on Google Plus if you're watching from over there. All right. So there's the guidelines. That's basically it. I don't think I see any more questions in, so I'm going to wrap it up right here, right now, unless another question pops in. So I really hope today that you've benefited from this time. I hope you're inspired to go out there and launch your mastermind group. Again, if there is still copies available, I'm not sure if we're sold out yet, but you can still right now, by using the coupon webinar, you can still get access to this course. But even if you don't, more than anything, I want you just to take this information and get started and get going. I put a lot of work into helping you overcome some of the common pitfalls and obstacles that a lot of groups come from or have a hard time with. But at the same time, you can get out there and get your group going and start taking your group to the next level. So with that, I am going to sign off. I appreciate everybody being here today, and I hope you've learned something that you can apply to your mastermind group. Thanks, everybody.